Hey there, this is April Bowden here of Truth Through Talk and Aiden's Road to Recovery. I was inspired to do this video today because I received an email from the Vaxxed crew. I'm on their newsletter. I don't know if you have been following the Vaxxed crew who made this documentary, Vaxxed. They had just put up an announcement that they were giving a discount to their DVDs in honor of Vaccine Injury Awareness Month. And I thought, oh, I've forgotten all about Vaccine Injury Awareness Month because I haven't really been on social media for a while. And, you know, I'm not one who really puts a lot of weight into these sort of awareness months. And I don't really know who started Vaccine Injury Awareness Month or where it came from. But I do have a vaccine-injured child. So it is something that hits close to home. For those of you who are unfamiliar, my son Aiden was vaccine injured in 2006. He was diagnosed with autism in 2007. I started writing the blog about him and his injury and our experience in 2009, and then Verstine and I began the show Truth or Talk in 2011. So we've been truthin' ever since. So, you know, we got a long history of truth, and no time soon are we planning to stop. We may take breaks from now and again, but not. But we're truthin' for life. But anyway, so I saw that email and I thought, that's right. It is Vaccine Injury Awareness Month, and it's almost the end. And it's also a time where after Halloween and, you know, we usher in the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and a lot of people are in really, really charitable moods. And so they're thinking about these awareness months and who they should donate to and all of that. And I've made videos before in the past talking about what nonprofit organizations really are, and in particular Autism Speaks, because obviously being that I have a child diagnosed with autism, that's one that hits close to home. So this is a major billion-dollar corporation that is a nonprofit, but it was founded by the grandparents of an autistic child, and they did it in honor of their grandson. And their grandson, the mother of their grandson, Katie Wright, has been very vocal and very honest about the fact that her son was vaccine injured, and that's what caused his autism. But somehow this organization has come out of the hands of this family and is now, they don't really have anything to do with it anymore. And Autism Speaks has been emphatically pro-vaccine and pro-pharmaceutical ever since. Now, so needless to say, a lot of the families affected by autism directly don't actually like this organization. And even in the neurodiversity population, which I'm not a fan of, and I'm going to get flack for that because they get really upset when you say that, but there's this group of high-functioning autistics people who believe that it isn't actually brain damage that causes this disorder, but it's actually a different way of thinking, that it's actually a diversity and it should be celebrated. Well, they don't like Autism Speaks either, because Autism Speaks talks about a cure. So the cure, they find that offensive. And the thing about that is that Autism Speaks is looking for a cure through pharmaceutical means, because they are in bed with pharma. They always have been. And they certainly, it's very transparent. There really hasn't been any secret about it. And this isn't any different. This is kind of par for the course with how a lot of these nonprofits work. If you've done any research into the American Cancer Association or the Susan G. Komen Association, you know, there's been documentaries about it. There's been many articles written about it. It's very transparent. And Autism Speaks is no different. And basically, what they do is they make a lot of money through these awareness campaigns. So when they're asking for donations and they're asking for awareness, this is basically to fund the campaigns that they put into the public so that they can sell their products and so that they can receive donations from people in the name of awareness. And so when they get all this money back for awareness, what that goes back into is generating more awareness, which generates more income for them, and they pay their people. And they also put money into something called research. And research is basically where they fund pharmaceutical companies. Like Autism Speaks, for example, they hired, I believe the guy's name was Robert Ring, and he came from Pfizer, which is one of the most profitable pharmaceutical organizations in the world. And he was one of the CEOs. He was somewhere high up working at Pfizer, and then they hired him out to come work for Autism Speaks to find a pharmaceutical cure for autism. So that's basically what they're set for. And when they say cure, you know, you really got to take that with a grain of salt, because these organizations are making a ton of money on finding a cure. So if they actually found it, well, then guess what? They're out of business. So there really isn't any interest in finding a cure. The best that they're ever going to come up with is a suppression of symptoms. But then those suppressions of symptoms will then cause the whole cascade of illnesses that are a result of the pharmaceutical side effects, etc., etc., etc. So when people are looking to help families in these situations, it's really better to investigate the organization that you're giving to before just handing your money over to a nonprofit, because it sounds good. It sounds like they want to help. And I get that. I really do, because I had no idea before I was actually a part of this community. I had no idea that Autism Speaks was like this. I had no idea that any of these nonprofit organizations were like this. I used to do these walks for the American Cancer Society, and they're the same thing. So, you know, I used to give to the Red Cross. I used to do all that stuff too, because I didn't know that, you know, my heart was in the right place. And my assumption was that since they were saying that they were doing something for people in need, then that was what they were doing. But they actually don't give any, my daughter is messing with the refrigerator behind me. I hope it's not too distracting. But they don't actually give any money directly to families or to people that are actually in need. So the other thing, this brings me to the other thing that actually inspired me to do this video, and that was that recently my family has received 3 grants from nonprofit organizations that actually do support and help families in need, obviously, right? And so I wanted to talk about the fact that just because these major organizations are out there and they're making nonprofits look bad, doesn't mean that there aren't smaller organizations that actually are run on a small scale that are really doing nice things for people. And everyone that I'm going to mention today has actually directly benefited my son and my family, so I can vouch for them. Now, when we first came into this, I was looking for information, and I found Talk About Curing Autism. And Talk is they're very transparent. Talk is still run today, even though it's gotten pretty big itself, is still run today by the original founder, Lisa Ackerman. And she's from Orange County, and they do an annual conference every year. They put a lot of info, and they get tremendous guests, and if you can't afford to attend, they offer scholarships. They also offer scholarships directly to families that need to pay for biomedical interventions for their child that aren't covered by insurance, which most of them are not. Almost none of it's covered by insurance. So they gave us a scholarship when I first found out about Aiden's diagnosis, and they've also provided us with scholarships for attending conferences. So I've been able to attend conferences for free or for very little money that, you know, if you go on their website, you see are somewhere like, you know, $200, $75. And I mean, if you can afford to pay, just know that it's going into a good organization that is very up and up and very legit about what they're doing. And they actually are helping families directly. They offer support groups locally, and they offer information about vaccines. They offer information about recipes and special diets and how to get funding and other, I mean, if you go on there, it's just a plethora of information. I go to them constantly, and I've been at this for 10 years. And I still need to refer to Taka quite a lot in order to find stuff, because they've already done all the research, and they save you a lot of time when you're trying to find help. In fact, it was them that I went to, and I found a listing of scholarship to help my son get funded for a communication device. So now my son is 12 years old, and he's functionally nonverbal. And he's been at speech therapy, we've been at many different modalities for many, many years. So it's not that we haven't tried our best to elicit speech. It just hasn't come. And some of our kids, that's the case. Because when the vaccine injury causes so much brain damage that it messes with their praxis, which is their ability to motor plan, their motor planning skills can be so compromised that while they may understand cognitively everything that's being said, and they understand language, and they just, their tongues and their mouths just cannot formulate the words. They just don't come out. So they're essentially trapped in their bodies. And you can imagine the level of frustration that this would cause. I mean, just think about that for a second. Think about have everything you want to say, and you think it, but it won't come out. Crazy making. So when you are trying to elicit speech from a child and they get to a certain point, you start looking for alternative modes of communication. And so we've practiced using PECS or picture exchange. When he was still in school before I started homeschooling, we tried that method and it didn't really take, and it's not very practical. So we switched to sign language, which I really love sign language, because unlike other forms of communication, if you're using a specialized technology or if you're using PECS, that causes the child or the person to be sort of focused down here and they're not really engaging with the person. So it diminishes a great deal of what is the overall picture of language. So I really liked sign language for that reason. But again, the motor planning issue has gotten in the way. So over the last 3 to 5 years, well, the last 5 years and then the last 3 years really hardcore, we've been practicing sign language. And Aiden does know quite a bit of signs, and we'll continue to teach this to him, but because of his motor planning skills, he's been very limited in his ability to just form these things. Like, he can't do a D. You know, he can't, I mean, his E looks a little like this. It's like, so in order for other people to be able to really understand what he's saying, he has to be a little closer to what the word, the sign word actually is. So he's still struggling with that due to his motor planning skills. And it's frustrating for him, and it's frustrating for all of us, because we want to know what he thinks and feels and desires all the time. It's not just about getting what you want. Toddlers can do that without speaking, and so can nonverbal, you know, people with autism, but it's about being understood. So it's a higher form of language that he's been denied because of his vaccine injury. So there recently, as he's getting older, you know, there's been a lot of talk, and there's been kind of like, you know, let's really start pushing some technology. And as I said, I was reluctant because it does diminish some of the capacity to express nonverbal communication and language. And I was also reluctant because of my health concerns with the EMF activity. And it just was something I didn't feel comfortable being fully dependent on a form of technology. However, once, you know, he's 12 and a half now, and I didn't feel it was fair for my bias against technology to stand in the way of my son being able to communicate. I certainly wouldn't want someone to make the wrong decision on my behalf. So I had to succumb to that, and I started looking into ways to get funding. And so I went to TACA, and I found several sources of places that are actually giving away free iPads. And iPads aren't terribly expensive. A lot of people own them, but then the applications that are used and there's a ton of applications used for augmentative communication. Some of them are even free. But when you're working with speech therapists and qualified certified therapists, a lot of them won't work with a program that isn't evidence-based. So at the end of the day, if we got the new iPad and we got the applications to go with it, it was going to be about $900 to $1,000. So I submitted a couple applications, and we were actually awarded two iPads. So we have one already that we've been using. We've just started using at home, with the app Proloquo to go, which is about $300 in and of itself. And we're also going to be receiving a mini that I can then carry in my purse and I can have in the car for him so we can travel with it as well. And so we don't have to lose one or break it and, you know, we're out of luck, right? So this is hugely convenient. So we ended up getting more than what I thought we were going to get. And I found these organizations, like I said, through TACA. But one of them was a group called iTalk, which is out of Ohio, but they run a national program. And the other one is, and they fund also, they help families pay for summer camp, you know, really anything that you might need. It doesn't have to be an iPad or a communication device. You can go to them and they actually help families. And, you know, within reason. They have it very clear on their site, like what they will and will not fund. So that was an organization that I can vouch for. And NAA, or the National Autism Association, is another that they're actually a pretty big organization, but they still do help families directly. They do an annual conference. Again, they offer scholarships if you want to attend the conference, and they offer scholarships for people who are doing biomedical interventions, just like TACA does. And I've applied for that scholarship for probably 8 or 9 times and never been awarded one. I do know people who have, but they also have a scholarship program called Give a Voice, which again, it delivers you an iPad, it delivers you the application, free access to an application cover, and then they give you the Apple Care because they know they're dealing with autistic kids who are probably going to break it, right? So it's kind of like you're set, you know. It's a really, really great scholarship program, and we were given that one as well. And like I said, I just kind of put out as many as I could at the time because I knew we were sort of desperate to get one, and I was hoping something would hit, and then we actually got more than what I had planned for. So great organizations. Also, there's a lot of really good organizations that are helping kids directly, not just with financial needs, but with their time. Surfers Healing is a national organization that offers free surf camp to kids with disabilities and with autism. And we've actually never been a part of Surfers Healing because it's so crowded and it gets filled up very, very quickly. Excuse me. But there is an offshoot. There's been a couple of organizations that have sprouted up across the country to provide local surf camp, and one of them is a group called A Walk on Water, and they're locally in Ventura County, and then they also serve LA and Orange County. And they started off just in Ventura, and then they've branched out to other areas of Southern California, and I think they've even gone to New Jersey and to Hawaii to provide their surf camp now, because they've been going on for a few years. And this is one of their t-shirts, and let me see that again. I can just actually move my hair out of the way. But they're a great organization. We've never paid a dime for anything other than my t-shirt, of course. And it takes a lot of money and effort and time to organize these surf camps. It's not, they need volunteers for not just the professional surfers that give the kids the classes, but that also help supervise them while they're on the beach, and help provide the lunch and everything like that. So they really, you go there, you get free lunch, you get everything, and they're very thoughtful to support people on gluten-free diets and stuff like that. It's kind of incredible, and it's inspiring, and it's very humbling when you're used to being shunned as somebody with vaccine injury, and people are so critical and so unhelpful and unsupportive, that when you are working with these people and you're working with these organizations and they're doing nothing but giving, and it's very inspiring. And last time they had a guy there that was playing for the kids. He had a guitar and he was singing, and I have a lot of great video shots of Aiden just being right up in his face and dancing and stuff, and it was really wonderful. So Walk on Water, Surfers Healings, these kinds of organizations are not controversial. All they're doing is helping people, and they need money and they need volunteers. So those are great organizations. Now, others that we've received have been local. There's a local organization called Pause for Kids. Again, they helped fund my son's first introduction to a therapeutic horseback riding. He started when he was about 4 years old, and that's what got the bug going. That's what, you know, bit him with the horseback, and not literally, and or one would hope. And he has been riding ever since. So that right on the place where we go, they also offer scholarships so that people can pay a discounted rate if they can't afford the full rate. So you can get partial scholarships. And so places like that, again, need money and they need volunteers. And if you have places locally in your area, the beauty of that, as opposed to giving to this national nonprofit, is that you can actually go to their events. You can go to their fundraisers. You can see them in person. You can become a part of this community. And you can volunteer. And if you don't have money, but you have time, you know, like us truthers that are out there and then spend hours on Facebook or spend hours on doing these things, you know, if you think about donating, you know, one of those hours per week to a place like this, or, you know, to people in need, you know, your message is going to be actually put into action. Your message of wanting truth and wanting justice and wanting to heal is going to be put into action. So those are great organizations that we've been a part of and that have helped us directly. And who am I forgetting? ASD Climber is another organization. ASD Climber actually is run by a father. He goes by the Father Warrior, and he helps families who have done a Sunrise Program training session. And a Sunrise Program is, they do charge you, but they also offer some scholarships so that you can reduce the fund if you want to attend one of their training sessions. But if you've attended one of their training sessions and you're looking for volunteers to help you implement your Sunrise program, the Father Warrior, through his organization ASD Climber, helps people match volunteers. So that's a good organization. I don't know how much money he's really looking for. I think he just is looking more for people who are willing to volunteer and help families. And so this is a way, I mean, if you volunteer your time in a Sunrise program, you're going to be helping a family directly. You're going to be spending an hour or two a week with a child with autism, or an adult who, their family, and it's working on this platform. Sunrise works on this platform of being just, you know, you're not going to be trying to teach them, so to speak. You're going to be just playing with them and coming at them with a non-judgmental attitude, looking to join their world and be a part of their lives. So it's such a huge, I mean, believe you me, it'll heal you if you volunteer for one of these programs as much, if not more, than the child that you're trying to help. Because you have no choice when you're in the Sunrise playroom and you're playing with a child one-on-one directly, and you're not being judgmental and you're not trying to get a result. You become, it's sort of like a meditation, and your brain just isn't filled with anything but what's in the moment, trying to make that child smile, trying to make them giggle, trying to get, you know, closer to them. And these are the things that, if you think about that, how, you know, all the things that you put out there, and the truth, and the, you know, this and that, that we you know, we're with our sandwich boards and out there and we're yelling and we're fighting. But if, you know, and you think to yourself, well, if it saves one person, then it's worth it. Well, you actually could save one person just by being with them directly. And that brings me to another program called Nathaniel's Hope. They run buddy breaks programs, which are, they offer free respite care to families of affected with children with disabilities. So they take the kids and they give them one-on-one attention for 3 hours, usually on Saturday or on Friday. And they play with the kids, and they have people from all over the community come with therapeutic dogs and bouncing castles and arts and crafts and musicians and people, music therapists and all this kinds of stuff come to the program, so the kids can kind of just walk around and do whatever they want. And they're spending time with, you know, an adult or a teenager, and just playing and just feeling, you know, loved, while you can go get a break and you can go do whatever, or clean the house, or do whatever it is that you need to do for those 3 hours. So these are organizations that we've received, and they're usually run by churches. So if you find one in your area, if you're in need of that, or if you want to volunteer your time, go look for a buddy break. So volunteering your time versus your money is actually worth a lot more to us. I would take time over money any day of the week. So the people that are involved in these buddy break programs, the people that are coming to, and I run a sunrise program, and I work with my, do one-on-one with my son every night, and I have 2 volunteers from the high school that come, high school kids. So they're not that much older than him, so it's kind of like a peer that gets to buddy with him, which is really kind of nice. So I'm proud of these kids, and I'm proud of how much Aiden has grown attached to them, and vice versa. So it's really a lovely thing. So ASD Climber, I highly, highly recommend that you check it out and see if you can donate your time before, if you have the time, if you have the money and you'd rather, then find something local. Even as I mentioned before, the therapeutic riding, I mean, you can volunteer your time to work with the horses. I mean, that takes a lot of money, and a lot of these people aren't charging full price. They're giving it discounts so that families can actually afford to do it. And the riding on the horses is just magical for these kids, just like the surfing. It's a lot of these things are what actually helps them to heal, because they feel empowered and they feel competent. And most of their lives, they don't. So sorry, I always get, this is very close to my heart. Anyway, obviously, right? So I'm going to end it there, but I'm going to leave links to all the organizations that I mentioned, and the stuff that I said about Autism Speaks and so on, and hopefully, and a few others that I've probably left out. I'm gonna, because there's others that have helped us, but I named the biggies. So in this giving season, if you feel like giving, and also, just to put it out there, we're accepting donations too. My son's blog, Aiden's Road to Recovery, we have ongoing expenses for his medical. As I said, none of that stuff is covered by insurance, and we have to pay for his homeopathy and alternative medicines, alternative non-pharmaceutical, anything that doesn't go down the pharmaceutical path isn't covered by your insurance. You're going to have to pay out of pocket, So, but for those of our kids who are so sick and immunocompromised and have severe gut problems and stuff like that, it's the only way to go, because otherwise you're just making them sicker. So we're accepting donations, and I'm also still trying to, I went to the Sunrise program last year and I fundraised most of the money, but I still have some left, and I'm hopefully going to be launching another fundraiser, because I'd like to attend, have Aiden and I attend one of the sessions in Austin, Texas, teaching RPM, or the Rapid Prompt Method. So if you go to our website, we're also accepting donations, and that's another thing you could do too, is if you know somebody affected, you can just ask if you can help them directly. Just ask them if they need anything, even if it's just an hour of babysitting or whatever. You can just ask someone that you know if they need help. So, and we do. So if you want to do that, I'd really appreciate it. So until next time, y'all, peace, truth, and love. Bye.